Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Aisha Khan, an ambitious, open-minded and proud Muslim woman. Looking back at the Islamic history, it will not be hard to find women who are innovative, leaders or entrepreneurs. It is said that the property of Lady Khadija, the Prophet ﷺ's first wife, financed Islam in its infancy. Islam then elevated the position of women in so many ways. Join me as I set out to go on dates with Muslim women from all walks of life to find out who they are, what they do, and what role Islam plays in their lives. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Meet and Greet show with yours truly, Aisha Khan. Today, I am at Warwick Center, the Afghan House, to meet an amazing lady who showcases support, resilience and hard work. Her husband and her were new in the country with no job at all. They started selling food at the masjid on Fridays, struggling with little kids and struggling from that little kitchen back in Nairobi West. As they say, hard work pays off. Today, the couple owns 2 restaurants, one at the Hub and one at Warwick Center where I am at today, famously known as Afghan House. Join me as we get to know more about her story. Apart from Ummu Khaula Habib being a successful entrepreneur, she believes there are certain principles that need to be inculcated in the upbringing of children. She is a strong believer in homeschooling and practical learning. I am at the Warwick Center, the Afghan House, with the lovely Khaula Habib. Welcome to the show.
Jazakallah khair.
You have a very interesting story whereby from the tiny little house, struggling with your 2 children, and today, mashallah, you have 2 restaurants. One at the Hub and here at Warwick Center where we are at today. Tell us about your journey.
Where do I start? So we started off as a takeaway service. It was from our home kitchen. My husband was looking for a job. We didn't have any job prospects. So we decided, why don't we start something of our own? He's from Afghanistan, so there is no Afghan food and there was no baklava at that point in Nairobi. So we started with both ideas. We would just do takeaway deliveries and stuff like that. And then
did you have any background in the restaurant industry?
No, we didn't, none of us.
Oh, okay.
So he's never studied to be a chef, but he always enjoyed to cook. Whenever we had guests, he was the first person to want to cook and everything. So it was one of his passion. So it just made it easier when we started it off.
What challenges did you face? Because here you are, it's a very small kitchen, you have kids running around, making noise, you have to control them, you have to cook, and at the same time you have to deliver. Yeah. How did that all happen?
It was really hard. In the beginning, when we started off, we started selling in a masjid. Yeah. They'd given us a small space. We took food, nobody bought. Like we came back with 20, we'd gone with 20 boxes, we came back with 16. Then we decided, why don't we do online deliveries? So we started advertising online and it actually took off. A lot of people used to call, they wanted deliveries and stuff. But then finding good riders, that was one of our most difficult.
So that would put your delivery back?
A lot, because finding them to be reliable on time, they tell you they're like 5 minutes away and they come 20 minutes later. By the time the customer gets food, it's cold. So that was the most challenging bit for us, finding good, reliable workers.
So how did the whole restaurant idea erupt?
We never actually thought about opening up a restaurant. We were okay doing it from home. Then somebody had told us that the Hub is opening. Yeah. So we went and we looked at the place and we liked it and just discussed the details and just jumped in. From
the Hub to now Warwick Center, how long did it take again?
This has been 2 years. So 1.5 years on, we'd gone to Two Rivers when they were opening, but we decided to pull out from Two Rivers. We had a few issues with our partners. So then as soon as we were pulling out, we just found out that Full Cafe has closed. There was a cafe here before, and we knew them quite well. So they said, why don't you guys take over the place? Yeah. So we came here, we spoke to the management, and they were more than happy for us to come on board.
So tell me about some of the strengths, some of your experiences that you would look back and say one of your favorite experiences that you encountered.
Opening up your own business, that's a big accomplishment. That was not something that we were planning to do. It just came by. So, but it has been very interesting getting to see it grow. You know, that's been the most interesting part of the journey. Seeing that we've started from a home kitchen, and now that we've come so far, it's so good to look back and say, okay, at least we've got somewhere. You know.
There are very many restaurants, mashallah, that's very nice. There are very many restaurants in Nairobi, I must say. So what makes Afghan House stand out, you know? What are some of your unique aspects?
Generally, there's no Afghan food in Nairobi. We are the first Afghan restaurant, as in a fully fledged Afghan restaurant. So that's what makes us unique. And then secondly, we have baklava. Baklava is...
I can see it right here and I feel like eating it.
Go on, bismillah. It's one of the very popular desserts in the Middle Eastern, in Asia and all this stuff. So it was something unique. Not many people were doing it here. There are now quite a few people doing it, but we were one of the first.
It's one of my favorite desserts. Maybe you can tell us what it takes to make this. Is it easy?
No. It's like each tray takes at least 4 hours to make.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you start making it prior?
We make it after hours, because doing it while we're working, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So the main thing is the filo pastry. It needs to be paper thin, as in you have to be able to see your hand through it. That's how thin it has to be. So that's the main process, because to make it that thin, it's a lot of hard work and takes a lot of time as well.
So this is the favorite dish at Afghan House. Everyone runs here.
When we started off, we were thinking of how will Kenyans react to baklava?
Because it is a foreign taste.
It is, and a lot of Kenyans don't like nuts, we realized. But when we started the coconut one, that's when it actually took off in the Kenyan market. It was a familiar taste, it was sweet, and so now we've converted quite a lot of people. A lot of people like the baklava. We have a lot of Kenyan customers, and that was our main concern in the beginning. I mean,
so they were your main target audience?
Yeah, because we had a lot of foreign customers, but at the end of the day, this is a Kenyan market, so you have to be able to break into the Kenyan market in order to be sustainable in the long term, because the other people may be here for a short term, whereas the Kenyans obviously live here. So that was like our main concern. Will the Kenyans like it? Will the Kenyans eat it? And so far it's just crazy, because so many people are addicted to it now.
I'm one of them. I eat a lot of this and gain a lot of weight.
Alhamdulillah.
So a lot of people, as you said, are Kenyans who come here and they've acquired this taste. And I've also checked on Facebook. There are very many comments on your baklava. Is there any other speciality that you have that people love coming?
The pilau is the second favorite, as in...
Is that the kabli?
The kabli pilau. So again, we thought like with the raisins and the carrots and all this stuff, it's something unique, something different. But we get a lot of people just come for that. Like they love the, I guess because it's not spicy, it's got like a subtle taste, but still is full of flavor. So I think that's what puts our dishes apart, because Indian food it can be very rich and very spicy. So some people don't like that. Whereas the Afghan food, it's still full of flavor, but not as rich and spicy. So we go to that market where people can't handle the rich food and stuff. So that's the main people that we get.
You have 2 restaurants, mashallah, I must say, one at the Hub and here at Warwick Center. Yes. So what is the future like? Where do we see Afghan House in 5 years to come?
We never thought we'll be here in the last 4 years. But we'll see how it grows, inshallah. We want to focus, we don't want to grow too fast, because what happens when you expand too fast, you lose the quality. We do want to keep it at least a minimum of 2 or 3 branches. So that we can try to maintain the quality, because being able to handle a lot of different restaurants, I think it's very difficult, and maintaining the quality at the same time. So that's our main priority, trying to make sure that we are on top of things. So we don't want to grow too fast and
end up breaking down, and at the end of the day you're out of market.
Exactly, because we want to make sure that the customers are always satisfied. If the food is always on point, I mean, that's our main priority. You can't give a customer bad food one day and good food, so that's how we would lose potential customers. So that's
so there are a lot of girls and women out there watching, and they want to start off a business, or they want to do something. What advice would you give them when it comes to restaurant management?
I do a lot of different stuff. For general businesses, just jump in. If you have a passion for it, but you have to make sure that you enjoy what you're doing, but just jump in. A lot of people are scared of failure, but failure is part of the success. You know, it's very important to fail and get up and do it again until you finally do succeed. I mean, we tried so many different things before we opened a restaurant.
Maybe you can highlight and tell us what exactly you tried.
We wanted to import carpets from Afghanistan. We thought, why don't we do dry fruit and nuts, and you know, there were so many different ideas before we finally settled and thought, okay, the restaurant business is the one that will work best for us in our circumstances. We didn't have the initial capital to go in, so we just started it from home. So it didn't require a lot of money for us to start it. We just started it, and then dealt with the orders and issues after after they came. Yeah.
As a woman, tell me about your experience, because you run this business with your husband. You started it from the bottom with him. Tell us about your journey, because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Getting married to my husband, first of all, my family wasn't that happy because he's from a different background and everything, and he wasn't well off. You know, for me, it was more important to find somebody who was religiously sound and have the same. You know, I lived in the UK, so we wanted to. Both of us had that thing where we wanted to leave and move away and raise our family away from, you know, the fitna that was happening in the UK. So. Finding someone on religious basis is more important than finding someone on the financial aspect, because in the long run, finances can come and go. So I don't think that should be the basis of a marriage.
But today, as we can see what happens in society, it's actually become a business whereby if someone is not rich, you don't want to marry them.
Exactly.
So what would you tell girls out there?
I think what's happened is marriage is made into a fantasy because of movies, because of everything around us. We fantasize about marriage. Marriage is a commitment, it's hard work, it's patience, it's a lot of sacrifice. You have to compromise, and people think there's a notion that you get in marriage, everything is going to be perfect. Everything is not going to be perfect, but it's up to you to make it perfect. And bringing religion into the whole picture, you can work anything out, making sure that your foundation is upon Islam. Because if it is upon Islam, everything can be cured through that. As in, if you have a fight, argument, whatever, you can look back and think about the religious, how do we deal with it in the religious point of view. If you go for somebody just purely for the financial reasons, if tomorrow he doesn't have money and there's no personality, there's no religion, what are we going to do? So it's
very true. I guess that's what our viewers should take that into consideration before looking for a spouse.
It's very important to have a sound religious background, because these are the people who are going to fear Allah when treating you. Like, they're not going to treat you how society treats women. They're going to be fearing God in the way they treat you. That's one of the main things.
There's something that's behind at the back of my head. I want to ask you this question, and I'm sure the viewers out there who love your baklava want to know. How did you and your husband meet?
Yeah, long story. My husband was a friend of my best friend at that point when I lived in the UK. So she knew I was looking to get married, and he had told her brother that he was looking. So they introduced us, and we were happy with each other. So the issue was to deal with my parents, because they were...
That is another topic of discussion, whereby a lot of families, let's say communities, bring a lot of racism when it comes to marriage. And how did your family react?
They were, it wasn't mainly concerned with the racist part of it. They were more concerned with, you know, there's a lot of horror stories where men marry a woman and they just run off and stuff. So, or marry them just for their passport and all this stuff. This is what happens back home in the UK. So that was their main concern. They were like, they wanted to make sure that he had a solid family background and everything. So I understand their concerns, but at the same time, if you know that this person is right for you religiously and everything, women need to know their rights as well. So what happens nowadays, they succumb to family pressure and they live a life of misery being with the wrong person. If you think the person is right, do istikhara and convince your family, because at the end of the day, you're not allowed to get married without your permission. Both parties have to be accepting. So don't think that you're going to sacrifice your happiness and get married to somebody. In the long run, you have to live with this person. It's between you and that person. It's not your family is not going to be involved of your family.
Which from your story we get to see, from zero, and here you are today, you have 2 restaurants, mashallah. So you never know.
Yeah.
You just go with your gut feeling, pray to Allah, and inshallah.
Anyone who's having financial difficulties, pray to Allah. Everything, Allah puts barakah. Sometimes money isn't everything as well. Having somebody there with you to be able to struggle with and everything, that's important as well. So choose a partner that you think will be best for you for the sake of akhirah, not only for the sake of the dunya, because that's where you guys, that's your ambition, that to go to Jannah together, inshallah. So that should be the goal.
Well, you've got it from Ummu Khaula. We will be taking a short break, so do not move a muscle. As in the next segment, we will get to see how Ummu Khaula instills the sense of entrepreneurship in her little children. Do not go away.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Welcome back to the Meet and Greet show with yours truly, Aisha Khan. Well, to those of you joining us right now, I'm at the Afghan House, Warwick Center with the lovely Ummu Khaula Habib. She has talked about her struggle with her husband in building one of the best halal certified restaurants in Nairobi, famously known as Afghan House. As I munch and look at my baklavas here, one of their best delicacies at Afghan House. Welcome back to the show. Well, now we're going to get a bit personal. I can see that you're wearing the niqab, mashallah, and there's an untold story to it, I guess. No journey is easy. Tell us about your story.
I come from a non-practicing family. They are more cultural than they are religious. So growing up, I was never covering, never wear the hijab and stuff. So when I was 15, we moved to the UK. And once I was in the UK, it's a normal life. You're just going out, partying with friends and all this stuff, and I'll conceal my sins. I won't go too much into that. But when I turned 19, I started questioning, as in doing all that, you get home, there's no sense of peace. So I was in search of that peace. So I started looking into the religion. I knew I was a Muslim, but I didn't know what being a Muslim meant or what Islam meant.
So it was all about fasting during Ramadan, and
just
praying when you feel like praying.
Exactly. And so nobody goes into the details and the spiritual part of the deen and stuff. So there was an empty spot that I tried to fill with other stuff, and nothing worked. So religion was something that I turned to in order to feel that peace. So I started reading. I started getting more into learning about it. I didn't just jump in and start covering and all this stuff. I wanted to have a solid foundation. So I wanted to know, why would I have to do this? Why do I need to pray? Why do I need to cover? Everything about Islam. I mean, there was so much to learn that I had never heard about. Growing up in a Muslim family, you would think that you would know about Islam, but we hadn't even scratched the surface.
So we're just Muslims by name, but we don't know why we're supposed to pray, why we're supposed to fast. And this is a problem that we're facing in this society.
And then at the same time, knowing Allah, how, Tawheed is one of the most important things as a Muslim. And unfortunately, even in schools, Islamic schools and all this stuff, they don't teach Tawheed. They don't teach you how to love Allah, how to have the relationship with Allah, how to find the spiritual aspect of Islam. It's just about rules. But what about how do you fulfill yourself? How to have that peace? So for me, that was the most important thing. So I started learning. The more I learned, the more I fell in love with it. Then I started questioning about the hijab. I wasn't covered. I never wore the hijab, but I wanted to, because I thought it is part of the deen and I want to do it. And modesty was very important for me, because coming from a place where men think that it's okay anytime to just come and talk to you, have no boundaries. I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that men can think that just come up to me and approach me, and I wanted a barrier, not because of the religious aspect only, but also for the personal aspect. I didn't want to have that sort of attention. So Islam just made sense for me, and being covered and wearing the hijab, it just made sense.
So what was your turning point? What exactly happened, you know, that you said, no, I need to wear this hijab?
So I had already decided to wear it.
Yeah.
I was planning to wear it. I was going to have a last trip to Nairobi. We came every year at the time around my birthday time. That's the time when I celebrated my birthdays. We don't anymore. So every time we would come, I would do my random going out and partying and all this stuff. And I thought this will be the last time I do it. I'll go, I'll do my last bit of everything. When I come back, I'll start covering. So I went to the market. I was preparing myself to eventually start covering.
Yeah.
And I met a Bengali sister there. So she told me, are you buying hijabs? I said, yeah, I'm planning to start covering, inshallah. So she said, okay, that's really good. But do you know, what if you die today? So that really clicked. Like that really
it hit home, and you're like, I need to do this.
Because I was planning to do more haram before I decided to go into the halal. I thought, okay, this will be my last time. But never thought of it that way, that, okay, what if while doing that, I had died? So what, so that really clicked on to me. And the next day I started wearing the hijab.
MashaAllah.
I just turned up to work and I was like, hello, wearing the hijab. So the work people already knew I was looking into doing that, so it wasn't a surprise for anyone.
Yeah.
But for my family, it was one of the biggest surprises, because they never expected for me to go from one extreme to another. Like one day my auntie sat me down and she goes, what happened? You just suddenly started practicing.
This is a party girl, now she's a hijabi, so of course you'd get questions.
They never saw the spiritual aspect of my journey. They just saw me practicing once I started wearing the hijab. So once I started wearing the hijab, again I had some random Arab, guys thinking, okay, this is a chance I can, come into. I didn't want that. It didn't make sense to me that any man should have it should be comfortable just to come and approach me whenever they want, and that was something I've always been uncomfortable with. It's the unwanted attention. So next step was to start wearing the abaya. When I put on the abaya, my auntie was like, okay, you look like an old woman, who's going to want to marry you, and all this stuff. So it was always like a discouragement from them. They never understood
your spiritual journey.
Yeah, I mean, she said it's perfectly fine for you to wear the hijab and be fashionable and stuff like that. Why don't you continue? But for me, it wasn't about that. It was about getting to the point where I am satisfied. I really didn't care about what other people thought, because it was my journey. So I fell in love with the niqab. And the niqab for me was a liberation, because I get to choose who gets to talk to me. I get to choose who gets to see me. So the ball is my court. Nobody can just approach me and say hi, and everything like that. For me, it was the ball was in my court. So I thought that was like the most beautiful thing about the hijab and the niqab, and that a woman is not judged by her appearance. You have to get to know me, and you have to. It's me who gets to show you what I want to show.
It's pretty interesting, mashallah.
Yeah.
Well, we are in the digital era.
Yes.
And you run businesses online. We have Halal Nairobi and Halal Nairobi Real Estate.
Yes.
What inspired the thought?
I am a homeschooler, so I used to take my kids out a lot. As in, we visited a lot of places, and in Nairobi, I see a lot of Muslims who are very isolated. As in, they don't make the effort with their families. So a lot of them would ask me, "Oh, where is this place?" And I'm new to the, I'm just back 4 years, and so I decided, okay, to encourage the Muslim Ummah as well, to get their families out and to get one with nature. I find it very important for children to be in touch with nature, because through nature they love Allah, because they get to see the creations of Allah. And my kids are very they love animals, they love all this, and through that they've been able to love their religion, and they're very in tune with Allah through that. That's how you teach Tawheed, in a practical way, rather than just telling them Allah is there. You're showing them through their creation and everything. So Halal Nairobi started it because of that. I started posting places that families can go to and take their kids and stuff like that. So that's how Halal Nairobi started. With Halal Nairobi Real Estate, I had a lot of Muslims asking me if I can help them sell their restaurants or their house. So I didn't want both of them to clash.
So you
I decided-
separated them.
I separated the halal Nairobi real estate. Again, providing a platform for Muslims to be able to deal with no riba,
Yeah.
to deal with somebody who's not going to charge them or con them and stuff like that. There's a lot of conning that happens in this industry. There's a lot of stuff like that happens. So I wanted the Muslims to have a platform where they don't have to fear that when looking to buy a house or a property and stuff like that.
Oh, mashallah, that's nice. So all these platforms are on Facebook?
They're on Facebook, yeah.
So if you're looking for somewhere to go to, take your kids out, or a halal restaurant,
Exactly.
then that's the place to go.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You have 3 beautiful children whom you have instilled the sense of entrepreneurship. How does this come into play?
For me, it's very important to teach them practical learning.
Yeah.
If we read something or anything, we'll always do a practical part of it. For example, we were learning about frogs. So we went out and got tadpoles and saw them become frogs. So it's very important to teach them a practical way. So we were learning about coins and all this stuff. So we thought, why don't we do something? Started a small business and see them show them how a business runs. So they were able to see how they can sell, how they make something and make money out of it.
So what do they make?
So they make slime.
Ah, okay.
Slime is like a plasticine, but like a stickier version, and they love doing that. And then at the same time, whatever money they make, half of it goes into a children's home.
Ah, okay. That's nice, mashallah. So as a woman, how do you balance being a mother, a wife, and again, a businesswoman?
It takes a lot, but then again, it depends on having a good partner. My husband has never told me, alhamdulillah, to sit at home and you must look after the children at home and do the homework. For him, he has always allowed me and encouraged me to pursue my passions and do what I feel is right. And he trusts me in that aspect. He knows that I know what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
And even in business, anything that he does with the business, he'll always take my advice. So it's a team. It's about having a team and making sure you're not overstepping each other's boundaries, but you're allowing each other to flourish. I think that's very important in a relationship.
That's very true. Thank you so much for gracing the Meet and Greet show.
No worries,
we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Jazakallah.
We have come to the end of the Meet and Greet show. I am totally inspired and I'm sure that you are too. Well, from Ummu Khaula's story, we come to learn that we need to stand for what we believe in, support our spouses, and of course, do what we love. If you have an inspiring story or know someone who has an inspiring story, feel free to contact us on the official Horizon TV Kenya page or on my Facebook account, Aisha Khan. I have been your host, Aisha Khan. Goodbye for now. Ma'assalam, fi amanillah, until next time.
Everything I have, everything I own, everything I eat is thanks to you. Every breath I take, every bird I hear, every smile I see is thanks to you. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. All thanks is to Allah. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.